I don't know about you, but I think flat surface clutter is some of the worst clutter around. I mean, you can declutter a room or a storage space and it stays clutter free for at least a while, but you can clear off a counter or a dining table or an end table, and within a matter of hours, it can be cluttered up again. So today we're gonna talk about how you can finally get a system in place to eradicate flat surface clutter, but also the maintenance plan that goes along with it. It's not as hard or as daunting as you might be thinking. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom. If we haven't met before, I'm married to Tom and we have 4 kids, ages 8 through 13, and we've lived as minimalists for about 8 years now. And honestly, the last type of clutter for me to really fully conquer was surface clutter. The stuff that accumulates day in and day out on our flat surfaces. In fact, when we put this desk area in a couple years ago, we were hesitant to do so because we knew it was introducing another flat surface to our home, and we knew our track record with flat surfaces. But the good news is that there are systems that we can put in place that are very easy to maintain. I know you're hesitant to introduce another bin or basket that is supposed to take care of all this stuff, but I do think there's a few things we can do that will make this so much less likely in your house. So why don't we come over here and we'll get started. Okay, so let's first talk about how we can work through some of this surface clutter and why it is so intimidating to us in the first place. And then I'll tell you the secret to how our dining room table never gets piled up with stuff anymore. It's miraculous, it's amazing. Okay, so step number 1 is just to group like with like. These areas are very intimidating to us because it is a mishmash of unknown random stuff that does not have a home and you don't know what to do with, all right? So step number 1, we're just gonna group like stuff with like stuff. So some of your categories might be just stuff that needs to be put away. A lot of this stuff, because clutter attracts clutter, and I'm gonna say that about 500 times during this video, has just gotten set here because there was other stuff here, so then it seemed like it was okay to put stuff here. So first step is just to group together like with like. So here's my category of stuff that just needs to be put away. And this felt very intimidating to me, but I'm realizing that a lot of this stuff literally just needs to get put away. It actually has a home, it's just not in that home. Now, I don't want you to underestimate the power of this first step of sorting like with like. It's easy to think like, oh, that's not really doing anything. We're not really making any progress. It's maybe just making it even look like a bigger mess, but that's not true. Here's what happens when we sort like with like. 1, we are refamiliarized with everything that's in these piles. We have built them up to be very intimidating and scary, and we assume that it is all to-dos that we have forgotten about, are long past due, and are just horrifying, right? But that's not actually the truth. We'll show that coming up. But it refamiliarizes ourselves with everything that's here. Number 2, it gives us an opportunity just to remove the trash and the recycling, which helps to reduce the amount of stuff that we're actually dealing with here. Number 3, we can easily put away things that already have a home. Now, we're gonna talk about looking for homeless clutter here, but there are things on here that actually have a home. They just need to get put away. So we're able to do that. Again, that reduces the amount of stuff that we're dealing with. So it refamiliarizes us, it reduces the amount of stuff that we're dealing with, and it shows us what stuff is homeless, and we're gonna get to that in an upcoming step. Okay, now here is what is always so amazing to me after we do this first step is this pile, like all of this stuff here, the bulk of the stuff is just stuff that needs to be put away. Now, don't get me wrong, this is gonna take me a few minutes to go around the house and put everything back where it needs to be, but all of this stuff has a home, it is just not in the home. And again, clutter attracts clutter, so when I have a few things on my desk, like these are my actual to-dos. These are a few things that I need to mail and deal with. This is the only to-dos. But when I had all of that clutter on here, it felt like I had 50 to-dos, right? Like I had all these things to do and all these things I didn't know what to do with, and it was so hard. But when I sort it out, I realized I don't actually have that much to do. This is a fairly manageable amount. Now, again, this hasn't collected over a long time, and if you have lots of piles around your house, there's gonna be more initially, but this is where I want to encourage you, even right now, that the maintenance gets so much easier once we begin to deal with this stuff. Now, unfortunately, these piles aren't just limited to the kitchen counters and all of that. They can even find their way to our bedroom floor too. And in my opinion, the only thing that should be on your bedroom floor are the extra throw pillows from your bed, right? Normally our shams would be on the floor too, but I just washed them, so I need to put them back on. And today's video is sponsored by Helix, and we're so grateful for our Helix mattress. It's truly the gift that keeps on giving, to not only have a bedroom where the floors are clear, but also to have a mattress where we get an awesome night's sleep every single night. In the past, we would wake up with our backs hurting, not feeling well rested, tossing and turning all night. And since we've had our Helix mattress, we have slept awesome. Well, this is, these are a little tighter than I was thinking they were gonna be. I thought I could make the bed so eloquently while we visited. All right. I mean, you want them to feel tight, right? Like you want it to look nice and full. Anyways. What we love about Helix is they make it so easy for you to get matched with your perfect mattress as well. You just go online and you take their sleep quiz, and it only takes a couple minutes, but you'll take it along with whoever else sleeps in the same bed as you. And so you'll just enter in what sleep position do you normally sleep in. So Tom and I are side and stomach sleepers. What firmness do you prefer? Do you currently wake up with any back pain? That's actually really important to note. And then at the end of it, they'll match you with your perfect mattress. So ours is the Helix Dusk Luxe, and coming up this month, actually, we'll have had it for 3 years. And we love that it has perfectly kept its shape. It's still flat, it's still supportive, it's still comfortable. And so that's been 3 years. But don't worry, you get 100 nights to try out your Helix mattress to decide if it's the right fit for you. And if not, they will take care of helping you exchange it. But then beyond that, you also get a 10-year warranty. And setup, unlike these shams, setup is super easy because it comes rolled up in a box, free shipping in the US. And when you get it into your bedroom, you just unroll it and you let it take shape. And then that same night, you can be sleeping on it and getting a really great night's sleep. You're gonna get it into your bedroom and be like, why didn't we do this sooner? It's probably how you're gonna feel about dealing with all these piles of random clutter too. Why didn't we do this sooner? It's actually a lot easier than we thought, right? And if you use our link down below, you can save 20% off your own Helix mattress, plus get 2 free pillows. Does it even matter if we make the bed? We have clutter to deal with. Let's go finish tackling those piles of clutter. Okay, so this is all of my stuff to put back. These are my to-dos. This is a small pile of garbage. Even this was like extra ribbon from the balloons for my mom's 65th birthday. I could keep this, like I could put this on my pile to put away with party supplies, or I could just throw it away because I'm not gonna miss it and it wasn't even that great a ribbon anyways. And so I'm just deciding I don't have a lot of extra time and energy right now. I'm just throwing it away, okay? This I need to ask the kids about. I'm not sure if this needs to go back to their piano teacher or not. And then this I want to show you, because these are the things that get a little bit tricky, is the magazines and the catalogs and the recipes. And this I would call fantasy clutter. So this I would put on a pile of stuff of all the things that are not to-dos, but that they're recipes that you want to try. There's paint colors you want to look at, magazines you want to look at, catalogs you want to flip through. And this is where our time will tell bin comes in very handy. So again, we don't want the fantasy self or the things we would like to do at some point to get mixed in with our to-dos. It's very important that our to-dos stay separate out. We're going to talk about that in the next step, but here are my different categories for now, and this feels really good. So what I want to do now is I want to just put away the stuff that has homes and that just does not want to be here, because again, this still feels a little stressful even just having it sitting there. So I want to put that easy stuff away, and then we'll deal with the stuff that's going to take a little bit more time. So stuff that needs to be put away and garbage, I'm just going to deal with that right now. Now, I know when it comes to this type of clutter, many of us have a difficult time getting started. Even the idea of sorting like with like might sound a little overwhelming or intimidating to you. And I love this post that I saw by Britt Frank on Instagram. She's a great follow. She said, procrastination is a manifestation of anxiety that gets mislabeled as laziness. It has nothing to do with laziness or lack of motivation. And then she goes on in the description to say that you are not lazy, you are not broken, you are not unmotivated. Procrastination is a form of anxiety that gets mislabeled as a character flaw. The mislabeling of procrastination keeps us stuck in shame and self-blame. Humans are always motivated. We are either motivated to survive a real or perceived threat, or motivated to make a choice if there's an option. It has self-protective and self-preserving functions. Understanding the function of your procrastination can be helpful to get out of it. A brain that feels safe will not usually get stuck in procrastination. Focusing on who, what, where makes you feel safe is a preferable approach to procrastination than shame. And so often when it comes to this type of miscellaneous clutter that clutters up our flat surfaces, often we feel like we don't have the tools to deal with it. There tends to be a lot of homeless clutter, so things that we just don't know where they should go. Most of us also have the experience that if we've tried to put an organization system in place, that it hasn't worked. And so we're very hesitant to try new things again. And I also know for myself in the past, I chronically had a pile of stuff on our kitchen island in our old house. And I had a lot of fear around that because I knew there were things in there that I should have done and was supposed to be doing and probably had it mailed in time. And often there were financial consequences to that. It actually felt, at the time, it felt easier just to stay there, just to let it pile up than to actually deal with it. That was very overwhelming to me. And so I don't want to oversimplify this, but yet I also think that you just haven't had a good system and a good maintenance plan for it. And I do think there's a couple tools that we can use and put in place that will actually make it so you can stay on top of this moving forward. Okay, so we got all the easy stuff put away, like truly the easy stuff, like stuff that just had homes, that just got set here because it was a flat surface and a little bit of clutter had acquired, so therefore it was easy to let other clutter acquire here. So like I said, now we're down to just my to-do items. And in the past, I would have perceived this as a to-do item, like read this magazine, look for new design ideas or new recipes or whatever. So I would have grouped this in with my to-do items, but now I know better than that, right? Now I know that this is a would like to do thing. This is not a have to do, this is a would like to do. And that's where having a spot for this kind of stuff now is so important. So now that we got it simplified down, let's talk about some containers or systems that we can put in place for this. Okay, so we've put away the easy stuff, we got rid of the trash and the recycling, and now what should be left is things that chronically do not have a home in your house, and that's again why they start to pile up. So again, remember, we might have some stuff that actually doesn't have a home on a flat surface. We want to remember to do it, to send it back, to sign it, whatever we need to do, but it starts to get cluttered up with other stuff because clutter attracts clutter, and now we have these other stuff that has a home, stuff that just need to get thrown away, and we couldn't see our actual to-do items. The next step now that we've identified our homeless clutter is to give these things a home. So what I would ask you is, where do to-do items live in your home? Where does time will tell items live? Where do random little things that you just don't know about, right? So what if you come across a cord and you're just not sure if you need it or if it goes to something? Where does this type of stuff live? So let's talk about a few containers that we can put in place that's really going to dramatically help this. All right, so if you've seen any of my paper clutter videos, you know that I think it's very important to have a basket bin or wall organizer for to-do items. So I have showed lots of different options over the years. You can grab something from the dollar store. If you're more of a visual organizer, you might want to have something on the wall so that you can see that it's there. Or this is another container that I really like now that actually has a lid. So truly, just grab something around your house. It does not have to be fancy. We think it's the container that is gonna solve this problem. It's not. It's actually the next step. So again, I really like these containers if you don't have like a dedicated home office or a place where to-do items can live, because we don't want them to live on our kitchen counter. And so I really like that this has a lid, and what that means is that stuff can't get accidentally put in there or piled on top of it. If you pile something on here, it's not inside of it. And so again, I am trying to make sure that my to-dos are truly only to-dos, things I have to do. So I can put my to-do items in here, and I can put the lid on, and even if stuff gets piled on top, it's not getting mixed in with my actual to-dos. And now this I can store in a cabinet, I could store it in a kitchen cabinet, I could store it in an office or anywhere else, but I also like that it's clear so we can see that there's stuff in here and what I put in here. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, Dawn, I have tried something with this, like I tried the Sunday basket, I've tried other things that you've done. It is just gonna get overflowing. Right, so the second part to this is we do have to have a habit of going through it. Like at some point, we have to deal with these items, right? So we have to schedule a time. I like this again because I can take it with me. You could sit on the couch while you're watching Netflix or watching YouTube videos. You could take it in the car with you. If you're like chronically running kids to sports practices, you could take this with you. You could write out bills in the car. So this I like because it's very portable. But again, if you just have some stuff from the dollar store or a cardboard box and you want to label it to do, the main thing is that we're keeping all of our to-do items together because it's very stressful when they're spread throughout the house on the dining room table, and the kitchen counter, and the bedroom floor, and we know there's things we're supposed to be doing in there, but we haven't been able to sort them out. So keep them all together. Even if it gets overwhelmed and overflowing, at least you know that all of your to-do stuff is together. And then second, again, I talk about this all the time, is your time will tell bin. So this is where we put stuff like magazines, recipes, catalogs, paint samples, just the random paper stuff that comes into your house, or other things. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be paper, but when it comes in, it has to have a place. If we don't have a place for it, that's where when it gets piled up, right? So it's important that we're recognizing the source of all of this surface clutter. It's homeless stuff, it's things that have a home that just aren't getting put away, it's things we don't know what to do with, and it's things that we actually need to do, right? So if we can have a spot for coupons and catalogs and magazines and recipes and all of that, this makes a huge difference. Again, you're thinking, but it's gonna overflow. That's okay, at least it's all together. It's all in one spot, and if it starts to get full, we flip it over, we look at the stuff on the bottom, and we say, oh, funny, I put this magazine in here 6 months ago and I haven't had time to read it. That's giving me data, right? That's sending me data saying, you don't have time to read HGTV magazines, right? You don't have time to try new recipes. You don't have time to order from that catalog. And that's okay. That is 1000% okay, right? So look at the data. There's nothing wrong with you. You're totally fine. We just don't have as many hours in the day as we think we do, right? So toss it out, move on. You've already forgotten about it anyway, right? So just move on with life. It's okay. Like, we're gonna be okay if we don't try that recipe. Everything is gonna be just fine. And then one other container I've heard many friends put in place now is just something, it can be any shape or size. It could even be a drawer if you have extra drawers, but just have a place for random stuff, random parts, random things you don't know what they go to, that stuff that would normally float around the kitchen counter. Just declare a spot for it, and it is okay if it is completely random items. Label it, let everybody in your house know where it is. If they're looking for something, say, hey, look in the random things bin, it might be in there. And so now at least it has a home, right? It's not wrong to keep random stuff. That's totally fine. Like, you do you when it comes to those types of things, but let's have a home for it so at least it's all contained, it's all in one spot. And if we do need to hunt for something like that, we know the first place that we would look for it. And then I do want to show you a few bins that we put here in our closet too, the last time we kind of made it over and redid it. So I have a container for returns so that these are no longer floating around our house. Now again, this can start to fill up and I can forget about it. I like that it's clear and I can see what's in here, but I have to pair it with a habit. So it had been when the kids had co-op on Wednesdays, that was my return day. Now they don't have co-op, so I have to just be aware anytime I'm kind of like going the direction where the returns would take place. And I sometimes schedule reminders in my phone, but having one spot where they all go gives me a lot of peace of mind because even though I could still forget about them, at least I know that they're all here. And then we also have a bin for like dog stuff, and then up here is garden stuff and then bug spray. Even this garden one has been really helpful. Like if someone gives us seeds or my mom gave us some fertilizer, I'm like, okay, I'll just stick it in the garden bin until I'm ready to use it. And again, it's clear so I can see what's in there. Recognize the patterns, collect the data, what things are homeless, what things are continually floating around, and then consider making a permanent dedicated spot for those items. But before we go, I do want to tell you the secret to how we always have a clear kitchen table now. This had still been collecting clutter. You've maybe even seen me clear it off a couple times in videos because you walk in the door and if you're carrying stuff and you just wanna get to the kitchen and get on with what you're doing, you just set it here. So mail and Amazon packages and things to return and things you didn't wanna forget about, this was where they lived. So do you wanna know the secret to how we no longer have clutter on the table? We stopped putting stuff on there. So a little while back I told Tom, how about we just commit to not putting anything on the table? We'll play the table is lava and nothing gets set on there. Now, that doesn't mean things don't get set on other places. So sometimes then it goes on the kitchen counter or like you saw next to my computer there, but it's much less than it used to be because when I have it in my hands, I'm like, ugh, just deal with it right away, right? So I'll just deal with it right away. I'll put it in my to-do bin, my time will tell bin, or I'll just be realistic and say that is fantasy stuff. Like I am not actually gonna use this, mail this back, do this. And so I keep way less of that stuff in general that used to clutter up these flat surfaces. So that is the secret. I know it's not really a secret, but yet I do wanna encourage you. I think you could achieve this as well. It just takes some practice and working through old piles of random clutter helps us to develop these skills and these muscles. And again, we're just looking at it like data. We're collecting data. We're being really realistic about how much time and energy we have to deal with this stuff. We're getting rid of stuff that we don't have time for. And then we're having strategic spots for the other stuff too. And if they start to overflow, it's okay. We are all limited by hours in the day. And just remember that the other half of the puzzle is taking time to go through these things once in a while. All right, well, I certainly hope that this is helpful. If you have any other ideas around keeping your surfaces clutter-free, will you please share those down below? It is so helpful and I learned so much from you too. All right, well, I love you. I hope you have a really good day and I'll see you again soon.